Hi guys, it's Nina from VR Focus. We are here at VRLO with...
Robert Jamieson from AMD.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and how you guys are supporting virtual reality.
So virtual reality is very important to us. We produce graphics chips and CPUs. The graphics chips are used in a lot of devices like the PlayStation, the Xbox, the update, the new Apple system, and basically the GPU, which is one of those, and that's basically a graphics chip. That's got 8.9 billion transistors on it, and you need that because in VR, a lot of it's on with 3D, and 3D content needs to have one of these to drive the content. So the faster the graphics card, the more realistic it feels. So obviously we're a key player in the market, and a decent one of these makes a big difference to your experience because no one wants to be in something and it going jittery or it's not very good. So it is very important to have this.
What are you doing right here, right now? Are you supporting Rewind?
So we've been involved with Rewind for many years. There's a whole bunch of systems over there which you can't see, which we provided. So basically people want to show their actual content on, their software content. They can do it on our hardware. We've got an exhibition here which is basically showing our new CPU, which is a Ryzen CPU. We've got our new graphics card, which is a Vega graphics card, which is the same thing that's appearing in an Apple Mac that will launch later on in the year. So we have to, people don't realize the software is important because the software gives you the environment, but you need the tools, which is the API, which is the stuff that's a wrap around it to make sure you can be in the 3D environment, but also you need the hardware. If it doesn't have the hardware, it doesn't work. So it's a combination.
So let's talk about the cost of it. How much is this going to set back someone who wants to build for virtual reality?
You could put a decent CPU, a decent GPU, and you could buy a system for probably £700 or £800 UK pounds, and that would be have the performance enough to use an Oculus Rift or a HTC Vive, for example. You also need to buy the headset as well, but obviously they've come down in price recently. So that's the basic cost. Obviously, the more you spend, the faster it goes. What you tend to find is a lot of what I would call experiences. So if you were to go into a shopping mall, or if you go to have a look at something like that Jaguar have done, they tend to use the high-end hardware. So that's probably double the cost. So it's about £1,500 on the system because they're just built for that particular experience. So whereas some of the game stuff are optimized on lower performance hardware. So there's things called VR ready, there's all this, but in reality you need to look at what you're going to do. So if you're going to play games, you can spend a little bit less. If you want to have something which you're experiencing stuff in, if you're a professional and doing B2B, you want the higher end kit, you probably have to spend £1,500. It's very important for us that the cost is good because we want VR to get out there. And I think it's a very important time because now we've got the initial, this is all cool and great, but now it's about actually implementing it, i.e. people are going to do business B2B. It's not just going to be in games. Architecture is a big place where this is going to change stuff, and everybody, like this building here, lovely high ceilings. Well, when you're in VR, you can feel that. When you actually look at a 3D model, you don't really get the sense of scale. So there's lots of things that VR can do, and I think it's now finding that commercial viability is the important bit.
Now you mentioned investment with regard to work in the future, and
yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So obviously one of the things that we do is we do the API, so the things that make VR work better. So obviously things like DirectX games, like there's Unreal and stuff, there's a whole low-level technology. We have a thing called Radeon Rays, which is a raycaster, very technical, and that actually makes the ability to VR work faster on GPUs. But also there's a software input. So people now today, they all want VR, but to convert a 2D film into VR, you've got to redesign all the 3D assets. So supporting that ecosystem, which is 3D modeling, etc., that's important as well. And there's hobbyists doing some really great stuff, and it's not that hard. I say hobbyists, I would say prosumer would be better. You can get a copy of Blender, which is free. You can get a reasonable system. You can create 3D content and then put it online. And some people have done this already. Or you can spend a lot of money, a couple $100,000, and then make a VR experience. And there's all that scale in the middle. I think some of the best stuff comes from people who are passionate about it and create their own stuff. Then some of the people who do things, some of the car stuff is great, but it's a car. But it's a new medium. It's not a film and it's not a game. It's an experience. So it actually leads you in. You can actually influence it. But that means you've got to think about a new format. And there's limitations in the fact that yes, you can move around, but you can't run around like you do in a first-person shooter. You are limited to a space you can. We don't all have great big rooms like this. So there's certain things you can do, and so you've got to adapt to that new medium. And just copying something from a film straight into VR doesn't work. So you've got to think about the format you've got. As a company, AMD, we make one of our large competitors is Intel. So they obviously invested lots of money on to do CPUs. We've invested money on to do CPUs. I don't believe Intel has a GPU solution, which I think VR needs to have a GPU solution. And a lot of people are talking about, sort of wireless VR, and these are things that are going to be the future. Today, if you want to do any VR, you need to have a decent CPU, you need to have a decent GPU. We're one of probably only a few companies that can actually do that, because we make both. Intel, they make very good CPUs. My boss would say no, they make okay CPUs, we better ones, but that's not here or there. And obviously as NVIDIA make GPUs as well. But we're going to company does both, and that gives us a bit of a heads up. And that's why we've been chosen by lots of the consoles, because we can combine both into that, and all the new consoles coming out that are VR ready or VR capable have our chips in them.
Which consoles do have your chips and are going to be available for VR?
So the current PlayStation and the current Xbox have our hardware in today. The next generation, the newly announced next generation ones, both have our hardware in as well. And they have what we call an APU, which is a combined CPU and GPU, and that means they have the performance to do VR. Obviously the next Apple Mac, which has basically a Vega chip, which is what we've got displayed here, not the Apple Mac, but the Vega chip, and that has enough VR capability as well. So that's a pretty good clean sweep on that regard. And obviously, we're in all the, you can have us in our PCs, we can have us in other devices as well. So we are quite instrumental in the VR environment, but it's not just about the hardware, it's about the ecosystems, the APIs, that technology needs to be there as well.
Fantastic. Where can we find out more information?
So the easiest place is to go to amd.com and look, there's a section on VR straight from there. You can look at our CPUs, Ryzen, look at our new graphics chip called Vega, which is very, very important for VR.